and its applications in electronics and communication. So let's start with that. So these are the topics that I want to discuss today. Number one thing is machine learning and how you are currently using in your day-to-day life machine learning. And after that, we will talk about what is machine learning, why machine learning is booming right now, where was machine learning till now. Okay. After that, we will discuss a bit about types of machine learning, then machine learning and electronics and communication, how we can merge these two things, what are the different use cases we are having in electronics and electronics and communication for machine learning, and last but not the least, what one should do to be a machine learning engineer. So these are the topics we will discuss one by one. So first topic is machine learning and you. So let's see where you are currently using machine learning in your day-to-day lives. So all of us know and all of us have used this Facebook face detection and recognition. Right? So whenever we upload a photograph, Facebook asks us to tag some people. And if you have observed the thing on Facebook recently, if you have tagged a photo, if you have uploaded a photograph, it will even give you the person's name who is there in the photograph. So how they are detecting faces and how they are deciding which person is in that photograph. As you can read the message here that Gary added a photo you might be in. That means Facebook has already detected that Gary has added a photo and you are in that photo, right? So how this thing is working? So machine learning is behind this thing. The second example we can see is Google autocomplete. So whenever we type something in Google search bar, it completes our statement even without we complete statement by ourselves, right? So how this thing is working, how Google is identifying that you are trying to write send, right? So this is another example of how machine learning is working, how machine learning is being used in our day-to-day life. Another example we can look into a smart personal assistant. So all of us have heard about this Google Assistant, Amazon Alexa, and Apple phone lovers must be aware about the Siri, right? So how this thing is working? You know, when you speak something, these machines are listening to you. After listening to you, they will convert your voice messages into the machine understandable message, and then based on whatever you have said to them, they will translate that thing, and then come up with a reply, and then you will listen that thing, right? So if we say, hey Siri, this, sorry.
હા કઈ વાંધો નહીં સર આ જસ્ટ તમને ઇન્ફોર્મ કરું છું. ઓકે
Falguni madam,
હા sorry,
can you please go on mute please?
sorry.
Okay, so when we say hey Siri, that's a trigger word, right? Siri will understand that we are trying to talk with it, and then Siri will come up with a reply that yes, how can I help you, right? Same goes for Google Assistant, same goes for Amazon Alexa, right? So machine learning is behind these technologies. Next example I would like to cite is Google Maps. So all of us must have used this, right? So how this thing is working? So deciding shortest path. So when we enter a start position and when we enter an end position, it will give us a shortest path between these two locations. So here also the machine learning is playing its role. After deciding the shortest path, it will also give you ETA calculation. Then how much time it will take to you from to travel from one location to another location. So how it is calculating this thing? How it is taking care of the traffic or the vehicles on the road and deciding how much time you will need to reach from place A to place B, right? The third thing on Google Maps is the heavy traffic in your area, this kind of traffic warnings. So how it is giving you, how it is locating you where you are and telling you that in your area you are facing heavy traffic. So all this thing is working based on the machine learning only. The next example we can cover is the recommendation system. So all of us are right now using Netflix, right? Netflix, Flipkart, YouTube, on all this thing, if you have observed, whatever movies or whatever web series you have seen or whatever videos you have seen on YouTube, you are being notified or you are being recommended to see another videos or which are similar to those videos. So how it is recommending those things to you? If on Amazon and Flipkart, products for you, such kind of section is there, and you can see which products the Flipkart and Amazon machine learning algorithm is recommending you. So how it is detecting those things, how it is telling you that if you have read one book, then the next book you should read is this. People you have bought this thing has also bought these things, right? So such kind of recommendations are being there on these systems. And one very common example we can look into is DMart. So I assume that you are aware about this, that the rack arrangement, that which product is going to be placed at what location. Means if you are going to buy milk, then you will buy buttermilk also there on the same rack. You will find butter there. You will find bread there. You will find jam there. So all these things are being clubbed together. Why? Because they run a machine learning algorithm to decide which products are going to be placed together based on the already purchased product by the users, right? So if they, what they will do, they will observe the purchase pattern of the customers, and based on that they will decide that when a person is buying milk, most probably he is also buying butter. Most probably a person is buying butter and bread together. So based on that, they decide that we should place these things together so that user or the customers do not have to run from rack to rack to purchase their products, right? So these are several examples which we are uh, using in our day-to-day life, which are comprising machine learning. Now, what is machine learning? Let's try to understand this thing first. So all of us know, and most of us are, means we are having a diverse audience here. We are having some faculties in the audience. We are having some of my friends who are industry people right now. Then we are having 4th semester students, 6th semester, and 2nd semester students, right? So I feel most of us have done the conventional coding exercises. So what we do there, we set some of the instructions, and based on those instructions, our program will follow that and give us an output, right? But we human beings do not work like that, because we learn from our experience. If we are being burned by putting our hand on a stove, then next time we will not do that, right? So same way, how can we teach a machine to do that thing? How can we train a machine so that it can use the existing experiences and existing data to decide how it should behave in a particular situation? So if you read the sentence that is on the screen, machine learning is the science of getting computers to realize a task without being explicitly programmed. So we are not saying the machine that you should do this, but we are giving a machine a good amount of data from which it will learn that if something like this happens, I have to do this. And that is machine learning. So E, T, and P, these three characters are there on the screen. So what those things are indicating, based on the experience, we will tell a machine to perform a task, and whatever output will come, we will check whether that output is acceptable or not. And if not acceptable, then we will give a feedback, or we will add that data into our experience. And next time we will go to perform that task, we will consider that we have made a mistake last time and we should not do that again. We should improvise. So ETP, based on the experience, you perform a task, and based on your performance, you will train again and perform the task in better way. That is machine learning, right? So I would like to ask a question now, that we do this thing in one of our electronic subject, if you people remember. And what is that subject? And that subject that we means it is one of my favorite subject, and that subject is control system. So whenever closed loop control system comes into the picture, what we do here, we give some input, then a controller is there which is controlling the entire event, then a particular process is there which we want to achieve, and based on whatever output we will get, we will give that feedback back to our input, and we will consider that feedback to do that thing one more time in a better way. So machine learning can be mapped directly with closed loop control system of our electronics, right? Now, there is one simple thing that is very important to understand, that how machine learning is different from our traditional computer programming. So in traditional computer programming, if you have worked on the 7-segment displays, how does 7-segment display work? So you in 7-segment display, we have A, B, C, D up to H. Okay, these are 7 LEDs we are having, and those LEDs are being illuminated based on the signal we are passing to it. Correct? So what we are doing, we are passing a signal to illuminate LEDs. We have written a program, and based on that, we will get an illuminated LED, which will be our output. Right? So this is how the conventional traditional programming work, that you give input, you write a program, your program will consume that input, and you will get out. But machine learning is different. And how it is different? So suppose you are having a collection of images, and those images are of illuminated 7-segment displays. So on one image, 3 is being displayed, on another image, 1 is being displayed, 4, on such kind of characters are there. Right? So what we are trying to achieve here, we are trying to give our input that I want 3 to be displayed, and when after that we are also giving the output that when the 3 is being given as input, this is how the 7-segment display should illuminate. And based on the output and the input that we have given to our program, our machine learning will create a code for us. So this is how the machine learning is different from the traditional programming. We are giving input and writing a program to generate an output, but in machine learning, we are giving input as well as output to generate a code. So this is the basic and most important difference between traditional programming and machine learning. So the next thing we should understand is why now. If you are aware, then machine learning is in use since 1952. Arthur Samuel is a person from IBM who has created a machine learning program in 1952 for the first time. But we are listening to this machine learning word from last 2 years only. So reason why it is coming in picture right now and where it was till date. So let's look into that. So why now? The first reason is data. So we are right now living in an era where we are generating huge amount of data every day. In 60 seconds, around 18 million text messages are being sent. On Google, around 3.8 million people are doing search queries. On Facebook, around 1 million people are being online in 60 seconds. On YouTube, 4.5 million videos are being watched. So this is the amount of data we are generating right now. And because of that, we are having food for machine learning, because data is something on which machine learning algorithms are being trained, and machine learning algorithms are being prepared, right, for achieving a task, to achieve a task. So this is the one major thing, that we are having abundance amount of data right now. The second thing we can say is the computing power. So this graph actually indicates 1900 to 2010 years of progress. So in 1900 and 2010, 1900 to 2010, the things have changed from electromechanical switches to relay to vacuum tube to transistor to integrated circuits. And as we have progressed in our electronics field, as time passed, we are able to do calculations per second faster and faster. So computing power is also very fast right now. We are having quad core processors, octa core processors. We are having supercomputers right now. So using that computing power, we are able to do machine learning related work. because if you are not having the required resources, you will not be able to perform a task, right? So computing power is very necessary. If your computer is not having enough RAM, then, and if you will try to open MATLAB in your laptop, what will happen? Your computer will hang, right? So same way, the computing power is very, very important for machine learning. So this is the second advantage we are right now having, that our computing power ability has increased to a very good level. And the last and the third thing that is very important is storage capacity. So we used to use floppy disk, then CD came. Then when I was in the college, I used to use USB drives. Then a portable hard drive came. And currently we have switched to cloud storage. So right now we are probably using Google Drive. Every single one of us is using Google Drive. All of our data, all of our Excel sheets, the form that you fill to register for this event, right? Register for this webinar, that form is being hosted on a Google Drive. So we are having great amount of storage capacity right now. And for a floppy and a CD disk or a USB, what happens is your storage capacity is limited to the device. But in cloud, that is not the case. In cloud, you can store any amount of data. If your data capacity is exhausted, you can even top up it by paying some money. So cloud is giving a great amount of flexibility to us in terms of storage capacity. So these are the three main things: data, computation power, and storage capacity. And because of that, machine learning is right now in great demand, and every single organization or every single company is trying to use machine learning to grow their business. And because of that, a great amount of machine learning engineers requirement has happened in the market. So machine learning is one of the great opportunity available to all of us to get a good job, right? Now we are moving towards types of machine learning. So what are the different types of machine learning problems we can solve? And I will not go in very theoretical detail here, but I would like to give examples and different types of examples so that you can understand how these types are different from each other. So there are basically three types: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. What is supervised learning? So task driven. Task driven means if you are uploading a photo on Facebook, what Facebook is doing, Facebook is trying to detect whether any face is there or not in that photo. And that face detection is considered as a supervised learning problem. Reason, you have fed a lot of amount of photos which are already tagged, which are already having faces on those photos. And based on that, the machine learning algorithm is deciding that yes, probably at this location, there is a face in this photograph. So that is supervised learning. Fraud detection means every one of us is using Google Pay, Paytm to perform financial transactions right now. So what if I will hack some of your Paytm account and try to do something? So at that time, Paytm will use a fraud detection. If you will even log in from your from a different machine to your Google account, you will get a notification that someone else logged into your Google account from another device. So how it is detecting that, right? So there are several factors, like your machine is having, if you have learned networking or CCNA or something, then you will be aware that all of our machine is having a MAC ID, which is unique to our machine. And when a MAC ID is different than a usual one, Google will detect that another device has been used to log into my account, and it will notify me that someone else has logged in. Is it you or is it someone else? If it is not you, then please report it so that we can check or we can stop that person from accessing your files. So that is fraud detection. Second thing is credit scoring. How credit scoring works? What is credit scoring first? So whenever a person applies for loan, all of us must have listened this advertisement on TV that you can check your credit score before applying for a loan, and it is free and all that. So how they decide a particular person's credit score? how they decide a particular person will pay a loan amount or not. All these things comes under this problem statement, where they are deciding whether you are a good person or not. If you are not a good person, then they will not give you money. Because if you are having a history of taking 15 lakhs rupees from SBI Bank and you have never paid them back, right? Then HDFC Bank will not give you loan, because they will check whether you are having any outstanding amount to be paid or not. So that is credit scoring. The third thing is demand forecasting. So Amazon, Flipkart, all of these people are using this demand forecasting. Demand forecasting means in Gujarat, we are having 44-degree temperature right now, right? But in Pune, Maharashtra, or in Bangalore, we are not having that kind of temperature. We are having only 27 degrees or 32 degrees temperature. So in summer, whatever products will be sold in Gujarat, those products will not be sold in that much manner in Pune, Maharashtra, or in Bangalore, Karnataka. So based on that, they will decide that in which inventory they have to put umbrellas. For example, if summer is there, if monsoon is there, then we know that in Bangalore and Pune rains more than Gujarat. So they will keep their raincoats and umbrellas and all those things in their inventory at Maharashtra and Bangalore compared to Gujarat. So this is demand forecasting. The unsupervised learning is you are not aware what you are trying to achieve here. It is just identifying, it is about identifying patterns. Okay. So for example, let me give you an example here that we are not aware what we want to achieve, what we want to extract from the information of the last 10 years Charuset admission data. So what we will do, we will feed that data, and based on the data, we will be able to understand that, oh, this is the problem because of which in 2010, the admission was not good. In 2015, admission was very good because at that time in market, there was very good demand of electronics. So likewise, we are not fixed here that what we are trying to achieve. We are just trying to identify a pattern, identify a cluster, that how things are related to each other. And that thing, that all problem statements like that falls under unsupervised learning. So as we discussed the recommendation engine in DMART for rack arrangement, right? So how this thing work? We are not sure that which product is going to be with another product. So we are feeding all the data, and based on that data, the machine learning algorithm will decide that butter, milk, and all the dairy products are should be placed in one rack, because customers are purchasing all those products in a group. Same way, social media analysis. So if you have gone on Facebook or let's take the example of WhatsApp. Right? WhatsApp is a part of social media. So if you have observed one thing, suddenly all the messages and all the WhatsApp groups are flooded with COVID-19 related or coronavirus related messages. So how people are reacting, in what areas, or in Gujarat or in India or in USA, how people are using social media platform to spread news or spread rumors, or whether the rumors are positive, whether the rumors are negative, how these things are being done using social media platform. So those kind of patterns can be identified using social media analysis. And even on that, we are having sentiment analysis. So whether Gujarat people are very much depressed or not because of COVID-19 situation, because a lot of cases are coming in Gujarat, and we are right now at the 3rd place in entire India in terms of number of cases. So definitely the negativity environment and the people and their mindset and the way they are behaving on social media, everything gets impacted because of this mental situation of people. So what governments do, they analyze this thing. If required, they enforce that you should not send any COVID-19 related messages on WhatsApp social media. Otherwise, some legal steps will be taken against you. So that kind of preventive steps are being taken by government after analyzing social media. Same goes for ad optimization. So what is ad optimization? So if you have gone on YouTube, and on YouTube, if you are searching for videos for electronics and communication, for example, then probably you will get Byju's ad, or you will get an ad of Unacademy, or you will get an ad of IITs or NITs or something like that. Why? The reason is you are trying to search educational related stuff, and that's why it is showing you education related advertisement. So here also machine learning is the playing its part. Now moving to the third thing, that is reinforcement learning. Here, learn from mistakes. So these three examples are very good to understand this: self-driving cars, games, and robo navigation. So self-driving cars means we are not sure that what will come on road when we are driving a car. So every time we are driving a car, we have to be fully focused as a driver, right? But self-driving cars, how will it work? So for self-driving cars, they will train a car by making it by allowing it to make mistakes. They will crash the car. They will deliberately come in front of the car, so that the car will detect that something has come in front of me. I have to apply brake and I have to stop. Right. So this is how they will allow the model to make mistakes, and from that mistake, using that mistakes as feedback, they will retrain the model, and they will rerun the self-driving car to check whether that car is behaving improved, whether that car is showing improved behavior or not. Same way, all of us have played games, right? The means when I was in college, I used to play games. Right now, I'm not playing, but there are many games which are very good, PUBG and all. So how PUBG is working? So if you can observe one thing, that PUBG game developer is not sure that at what location in game you are going to press which switch, right? So it is a completely unpredicted thing. You can even jump from a building, you can jump from an helicopter, you can jump from an aeroplane. So that person who has developed that game was not known that you will do this and you will play this kind of things in a game, right? So there also the algorithm is working. The algorithm will let you do whatever you want to do, and based on the mistakes it will do, or it will react differently every time you do that. The same thing we can look into the robo navigation. So if you have seen a Mars rover, so Mars rover means the rover or the robo that we send to Mars on Mars surface. Now all of us know that on Mars surface, how the Mars is looking and what kind of problems are there. We are not at all aware about that. So in that robo navigation, what we are doing, we are feeding our robo with an algorithm, and based on the mistakes it will make on Mars surface or moon surface, our algorithm will improvise every day, and our algorithm will train it in better way, so that next time when something comes in its track, it will behave properly, and it will not do something which it should not do. So such kind of self-improvement system is required to do robo navigation on Mars as well as on Moon. So this is one of the example of machine learning in astronomy department, we can say, or space department, we can say. Now, I will try to explain supervised and unsupervised learning with a bit of technical thing. How supervised learning is working? Supervised learning is, supervised means you are sitting in an exam and there is a supervisor. And what the supervisor will do, he will take care of you. He will check on you whether you are not doing anything wrong, right? So same way in machine learning, we will give labeled data. Labeled data means we will feed a machine learning model that this is an hexagon, this is square, this is triangle, and based on that, we will label these images using these labels. Okay, and then our model will understand that when there are 4 angles in an image, the machine learning engineer, that is me or you, is trying to map that image as a square. There are 3 angles in this image, so it will understand that we want to consider it as a triangle. This is a hexagonal, and likewise it will create a program by itself. As we looked into the last slide, that machine learning is about giving it inputs and giving it outputs so that it can generate a program which we will use when next time we will get something as a new input, right? So hexagonal, square, and triangle, all these things we will feed it. We will tell it also that these are the things that we are trying to label on this data set, and based on that, it will do model training. And when next time we will give a test data, it will detect based on its learning that this is a square, this is a triangle. Right? So this is how supervised learning works. We are giving it labeled data, and based on that, it is predicting. Now, what is the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning? So in unsupervised learning, we are having raw data. We are not telling that this is a cat. We are not telling machine learning that this is a dog. Instead, we are just feeding all these images. There are thousands of images, and then it will detect that when a doggy is there, then its face is looking like this. When a cat is there, then its face is looking like this. Its facial attributes are like this. The dog's ears are in downward situation. The cat's ear are in upward situation. So likewise, it will interpret the data. It will decide its own parameters. Okay, and then based on that, it will create a code. And when next, and then what it will do based on the attributes that we have given to, based on the ears, eyes, nose, tail, legs, all these features of these cats and dogs, it will club them and it will prepare groups. There's these two images are looking like similar, so they should stay together. These two images are looking similar because their ears are into upward direction, their faces are also looking similar, so these two should stay in similar group. Dogs and cats are not the labels that machine is going to give us because it does not understand that this is a dog. But definitely, after feeding a lot of dogs images, we can expect that yes, these images are of dogs images, right? So this is how unsupervised learning works. Unsupervised learning, we are not labeling anything, but we are letting the machine decide how different features are being used so that we can classify this different data into different groups with similar kind of images. So this is the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning. Now I would like to cover some use cases of machine learning and in electronics and communication for students as well as for some of our faculties.
Kunjan,
Yes.
this is Vihar. Wanted to ask one question in supervised learning. You told the examples of pentagon and triangle, right? So it will only detect or it will only learn whatever we are feeding as a label, right? It will not identify the other data or other inputs.
No, it will not, because supervised meaning itself states that it has to be given data which is labeled, and then only it will be able to detect whether a particular thing is square, triangle or not. So for example, if I want to detect fraudulent transactions, for example, okay, so in 10,000 transactions that has happened from Paytm, and from those 10,000 transactions, 10 transactions are fraudulent. So I have to tell that when those 10 transactions have failed, these were the parameters. The user was in India, the browser used was Chrome, the application used was from iPhone. Such kind of features I have to pass, and based on that, it will decide that next time this kind of coincident happen or this kind of features resonate with those 10, then I have to ask the user that I feel you are a fraudulent user, so please give me multi-factor authentication kind of thing. So we will ask security questions, we will ask OTP and such kind of thing. So whatever we have fed as labels, only those things will be detected by supervised learning algorithm. It cannot detect anything extra than that. If you want to detect those things, then what we have to do, you have to add those data into your data set. You have to add those labels into the data set, retrain your model, and then it will start detecting those things. That's how it works.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Okay. So let's go into this. So friends, if you go on YouTube and search some of the videos, you will find many useful and interesting things. So yesterday night only I have prepared some of these slides, and I am very happy to share this with you. This is one of the problem statement that came up to my mind. So this one of the guy who has prepared this temperature and humidity sensor data logging to Excel sheet using Arduino. So what this student was trying to achieve here is he used temperature sensor, he used humidity sensor, then he used Arduino, then he traced or store all the data from sensors of temperature and humidity, and then send that data to Excel sheet. Now, how we can apply machine learning to this? So as you can see, temperature, humidity sensor, and Arduino, this is all electronics part, right? On this thing, what we can do, we can collect data of 5 days. We can collect data of 10 days at interval of 1 hour, for example, that at 12 a.m., this was the humidity. At 12 p.m., this was the temperature and humidity. At 1 p.m., this was the temperature and humidity. And based on that, we can apply time series analysis. Time series analysis means for 5 days, if it was not raining, on 6th day, whether it will rain or not, right? So for for predict next hour or day's temperature, or predict next hour or day's weather, that's what we can achieve here by clubbing electronics with machine learning. So we are starting with electronics, we are collecting data using electronic sensors, and then we are using that thing to apply machine learning on it to create a problem statement, that is weather prediction or temperature or humidity prediction. And this is a very good small project which you can do for 4th semester project or 6th semester project. Same way, let's go on the second. So this is another video which I came across on YouTube. What this person tries to achieve it, he used Arduino based light avoiding robot. He prepared this. How he did this? He used Arduino board, then he prepared a small PCB, then he used this one, this two, this three, and this four. These are the photo detector sensors. So whenever light will be thrown on these sensors, it will react based on the programming we have done. So PCB designing, this PCB he designed using Deep Trace or something like that, PCB designing software. Photo detector sensors are being used. SMD components are being used, capacitors and resistors, switches, LCD display. Arduino is being used to give a controller to the PCB. And what program this person fed into the Arduino was using machine learning. That is the neural network. So whenever light will fall on this sensor, the board will try to run away from the light source. That's what he tried to build this. I know there is no sense in building this thing, but this is all about learning. So you can build anything. That's what I believe. The third thing is neural network robot with Arduino. Here, this is also another video on YouTube. Here, what this person or what this student tried to achieve is he used ultrasonic sensors. Ultrasonic sensors means these sensors will radiate some voice signals. And based on the reception of the signals, it will perform the coded task. Ultrasonic sensors are being used here, and whatever feedback will or whatever response will come to this sensor, Arduino and neural network will run this board accordingly. Now, this is the fourth one, which is useful for faculties, I feel. So how in industry, electronics and machine learning are being clubbed right now. So this is a PCB manufacturing thing. As you can see here, that this is an isolation which needs to be provided, because on this light light green path, our current is going to flow. So if this isolation is broken, then what will happen? Whatever current is flowing on this path will run into this entire green part. That means it will give a short circuit, right? So defect inspection system, that's what they are saying. How just by observing PCBs, PCB photos, whether any defect is there or not. That's what they are trying to achieve using machine learning and image processing in PCB designing industry. The next thing they are trying to achieve is PCB soldering. So wherever this kind of soldering is need to be done, they are using machine learning instead of using humans, and how human efforts, and how this thing is giving a good result to PCB industry. We are getting better results, better products. We are able to reduce the operational cost because the machines are doing everything. We are able to reduce the scrap rates because more and more accurate PCBs are being designed, and lesser and lesser scrap materials is being produced. So this is how PCB designing is getting benefits of machine learning. Now, this is one of the use case that I found on eInfochip's website. So eInfochip engineers have created a wind turbine fault detection. So every one of us knows that wind turbines are always placed in remote areas. Means no one lives around that wind turbines, right? So, and it is very important to monitor this thing, whether they are working as per the requirement or whether they are working as per the calibration we have done. And in wind turbine also, we are having vibration sensors, motion sensors, and accelerometer to detect the wind and produce or to convert the wind energy into the electrical energy. So what they have done, when we miss an opportunity to take care of wind turbines, this is what happens. It catches fire or our system goes down. So to avoid this thing, to detect the faults before they cause a damage, and to do predictive maintenance, because we know that every sensor of electronics we are using has wear and tear, and every sensor we are using having some expiry date. After that, that sensor cannot properly work or its performance degrade. So at what time you should change your sensors, or at what time you should clean your machines, at what time you should clean or apply grease to your motors. Such kind of predictions can be done using machine learning in wind turbine fault detection system. Another thing that I found out on MATLAB website, that MathWorks website, radar target detection. This is for communication side. So all of us know that we are having self-driving cars, and all of us know that we are having collision avoidance technology in cars nowadays. How does that thing work? So a car sensors continuously radiate radar signals or a particular frequency signals, and based on the response the car signal receives, it applies machine learning algorithm on that, and then it check whether collision can happen or not. If this car is in very close proximity of this another car, then I should apply brake. If another car is going from the left side or right side of this car, then I should not change my lane, right? All those kind of decisions are being taken in self-driving cars and collision avoidance using our radar target detection and target classification. Target classification means if a car is running in self mode, then it is very important to detect the lanes, detect traffic signals, right? Because on traffic signal, if red light is there, then car has to automatically stop. If green light is there, then car has no problem, it can run. But that detection from everything that is looking on from your windshield, it is very important to detect that this particular thing in the photo that we have currently captured is traffic signal, and red is being displayed there, and I have to apply the brakes. So this is all is using radar communication systems of our electronics and communication branch. And one more example I found out is jamming prediction for radar signal. So this was one of the research paper journal which I found out yesterday. So usually what happens during this is called as electronic warfare. Electronic warfare means when war happens between two countries, it is not only military war. They also means electronically also people try to have a war. Like how? So this is a ship and the radar is trying to detect that they are sending fighter planes. But when a jammer is there, our radar will not be able to detect that fighter planes are approaching towards it. And because of that, this plane will bomb this ship and the ship will get damaged. So for this thing, the enemy is trying to use jamming signals. Same way, if you have seen the Narendra Modi and his cars or Donald Trump and his cars. So what happens? Narendra Modi uses only one car. But why there are so many cars he's having around him? Because on those cars, there are some jammer cars, there are some security people and all those things. Jammer cars, what the jammer car will do? Jammer car will stop all the signals that are being used to communicate, mobile signals or any cell phone signals or any satellite signals and everything, so that people cannot communicate. Same way when some high VIP person comes to our college campus, if you have means Narendra Modi has came, then APJ Abdul Kalam has came. So when those people come to our office, they come with a jammer car and they block all the signals, and so that we cannot communicate with each other using cell phones. So what happens here is whether this enemy which is in the plane is using the jammer or not, that is very important for this ship to decide. And if that person is using a jammer, then this person has to be very cautious because he is in danger right now. So to decide whether these person's radar signals are being jammed or not by enemies, machine learning is being used. Because whatever I read in this journal till now is there are specific kind of jamming signals which are being used always. And when you tweak those signals frequency or amplitude or something, then it becomes very difficult to detect that your signals are being jammed. So it is definite that user is or the enemy is not going to use the same jamming signal every time, right? So it becomes very difficult for these people to detect that their signals are being jammed and someone is approaching them. Same goes for ship. These are the two ships, jamming energy and jamming set. This is self-explanatory, so I am not going into this. But jamming prediction using of radar signals can be also achieved, and it is being achieved using machine learning. So this is one of the another example of communication and machine learning merging.
Kunjan, can I for a moment interrupt, please?
Sure, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Kunjan is actively contributing to the alma mater. We are really appreciating that, and we are really proud of him. Thank you very much, Kunjan, for your timely help and frequently interacting with your juniors. And to all the students, those who are listening him, he is a very smart fellow, especially for the interviews. So please don't let him go. Ask him as many questions how to appear for interviews. He know how to crack many interviews, and he has done it successfully. Okay, so take his benefit. I'm sorry for using this word, but take his benefit as much as you can. Jaldi હાથમાં આવતો નથી કુંજન આમ તો. So while he is here, you can take his benefit. એનો email ID પણ એ આપતો હોય છે બધાને at the end of the presentation. So if you got any questions, please feel free to write him. And he is very kind and supportive in that manner. All right, Kunjan. I think I got another webinar. I am leaving at the moment, but thank you very much once again for contributing to the alma mater.
Thank you, sir. So these are the videos, video links from YouTube, which are describing these products. Okay. This temperature humidity prediction, this Arduino neural network robot, and this robot using ultrasonic sensors. So just for your reference, I have added these links here so that you can refer them and you do not have to go on YouTube and search them again. And moving towards the next thing, that is becoming a machine learning engineer. So I'm working in this thing more since last 3 years, I feel. And the path that I have taken to become a machine learning engineer is this, that you first do certifications, because certifications gives you a startup from where you have to start and from where you should go, because this is a very vast field and it is very, very easy to get lost in this field, because there are so many topics and we do not even able to relate why this topic is existing, why this topic is related with another topic, and so many questions will come. So better is that you should use certification platforms to start your journey in machine learning. And one more thing that I will emphasize is use only experienced people's courses. Do not go with very naive people's courses like me. I am not a very experienced person, so I also may confuse you, frankly speaking. So there is a course of Andrew Ng on Coursera. This person is working on machine learning domain since last 30 years. So that kind of people we should follow for this field. The next thing we can go is books. So books are the always best friend, and books never misguide us. The third thing is capstone projects. So after getting all the knowledge from certifications and books, somewhere we have to apply, because just theory, we will not be able to do anything. We will forget things. So capstone projects are very important. You can go to Kaggle website. Kaggle is very big platform where a lot of data sets are available, and those data sets are free. You can use those data sets. You can use Kaggle platform to build capstone projects, and you can learn a lot of things there. A lot of people like me and a lot of people, very experienced people, are already there. So they have created their own projects and they have uploaded that. So you can even read those projects and you can learn a lot of things. And after doing capstone projects, I feel you should apply for hackathons. Hackathons are something which we generally do in our colleges, right? Hackathons gives a great platform to brainstorm, to work with new people, to work with smarter people than us, to work with faculties, to work with experienced people. So hackathons are cherry on the top on compared to certifications, books, and capstone projects. So this is the way, and these are several platforms. That is Udemy, Coursera are for certifications. All of us knows this, and I will say one thing here, that please do not waste a lot of money on courses, because whatever is available for free, try to consume that. Don't waste money on certifications, because that is not good. Wasting money on capstone projects or hackathons will give you more benefit. So Google Colab is one of the platforms where you can do all the machine learning work directly on Google Cloud. You do not have to set up any system. You just need your Google Chrome browser, and everything will be done on the Google Drive or Google Cloud. So that is one of the great platform available. Analytics Vidya is one of the platform where things are available in blog post format, and they are also conducting hackathons, so you can participate there on hackathons too. And this is the last slide from my side, that please explore the things. Life is all about exploring. As you grow and as you become more and more older, like us, like our faculties and like me, you will realize that life is not about reaching anywhere, because once you reach there, you will want to go somewhere else. So it's all about exploring. So explore as much as you can. Things are available in abundance on internet. And one more thing that I would like to add here is, even though you feel that after exploring machine learning, this is not the way or this is not the thing that you want to do, if you feel that, then also you feel free to do something else. Because if you have not found what you want to do yet, keep looking. That's what our Steve Jobs says. And something should be there which keeps you motivating and keeps you going every day. Otherwise, life will become very boring. And with this, I would like to conclude webinar from my side. And if any questions are there which I can answer, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Hello, sir. I am Pankti Shah from 6th semester.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question. I am learning machine learning from last 2 years. And right now I am doing one project that is antenna parameter optimization using machine learning. So have you been to like which main domain you are working? So I can ask you some question about that, about my project.
Means you want to know in what domain I am working?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Actually, I am working on the basis two domains like image processing base. I am doing one project in the Charusat Research Center, and this is also second project I am doing that. So I wanted to ask, I want to solve some of my queries. So I was supposing to ask that if you have worked in this field like antenna parameter optimization or so on.
Frankly speaking, I means after graduating as an electronics and communication engineer from Charusat, I have completely diverted my role into software engineering because I got placed in TCS, and then currently I'm working with FIS Global, which is a finance domain related thing, which creates applications
Okay.
of financial payments. So, but what I want to say here is domain knowledge is a separate thing. Machine learning team never comprises of one person. Okay, please try to
Yes.
understand this. You have a lot of faculties in college. You have our HOD sir, Susit sir, Falguni madam is there for antenna. So these are the expert people for antenna related knowledge and parameters. But when your data set is ready, okay, when your features are ready, and after that you want to apply machine learning on that front, if you are stuck for anything, I can help you there in machine learning.
Sir, my major concern was that only. I'm already training the model, but I was not able to get the perfect accuracy. So that was my major concern to attend your webinar, as recommended by Falguni ma'am.
Okay, so there are means you are mean what is your purpose of your model? Means what you are trying to predict something?
Pankti.
See, my project is yes.
No, carry on. Carry on.
Okay. Sir, shall I ask here or I can mail you about? So I think many of others will get bored if I'm asking my personal question.
Sure. We can discuss later on email, and I will definitely guide you as per
Yes,
my
sure.
knowledge. Okay, fine.
He will share you his email
Okay,
ID,
thank
and you can ask question on email, or you can also call him if he will provide you the number. So anyone would like to ask any question, you can ask in chat box, or you can unmute yourself and also you can ask.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Kunjan, it's Sagar.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good, sir. Fine.
So I just want to ask you about one thing, that is, if you can explore the same thing in terms of the academic part for machine learning, so which subject students need to focus much more, right? And another thing, that is, once the data set they have been ready with them, right? On which platform they can test their particular things practically. So these two questions, I think you should tell them.
Number one thing is which subject students should focus. Okay, so this all of you can see my screen, right? So subject, then comes machine learning, then comes deployment, then comes maintenance, okay? And then comes end user. So this is the way things work. Now you are asking, sir, that which subject one should focus. So as we discussed a lot of use cases currently in PCB designing, we are having machine learning. In antenna and radar, we are having machine learning. Then in robotics, we are having machine learning. Then if students will go on Xilinx and Texas Instruments websites, they will find out that in chip development or chip designing, also Xilinx, Intel, and AI are using machine learning. So this subject related part, I feel it's students' choice which way they want to go, because it is, I mean, being expert in one subject is completely dependent on the students' interest. So subject students should decide. Now, whatever subject student will decide, that thing is going to map with machine learning somewhere in the future. I can assure you about that. So don't worry that if I start working on PCB and what if PCB will not map with machine learning, I want to go in machine learning, so how to approach this? It's not like that. Every field is trying to use machine learning currently, and they are trying to expand their business or grow their business using machine learning. Now, the second question, you said that platforms. So once your data set is ready, so using my example for this, so we use that ultrasonic sensors we can mount on a robot. Then we use that we can photo detectors we can mount. Right? So once your data set is ready, what you need to do, let me show that thing. You can go to this platform, kaggle.com. Okay, this kaggle.com platform provides everything here. And what you have to do is you have to upload your data set here. Make sure that your data set does not contain a lot of confidential information or anything related to our college, because it will be a violation of the information policy. Once you go here, you can upload your data set here, new data set. Once you upload your data set here, you go to the notebook, and on notebook, you can create a notebook. For example, this is my notebook, which I have in past. So you can consume that data set here like this, that I want to use my data set. You will get your link from your data and you can consume that data set here. So your data set will be stored in a variable, and after that, this is how it will look. And you can operate on that data using Python language, and you can perform all kind of machine learning related stuff using here.
So once we upload our data here on Kaggle, will it be shared with other users also, or it will be with us only?
No, there are provisions to keep your data private, and it is completely safe. So if I go to here, your data set, and if I upload my data set here, it will ask me whether you want to make this as public data set or private.
Okay.
So you have full command on that.
Okay.
So you can use this platform Kaggle. This is a very good platform.
Yeah.
Another thing is Google Colab. I'm afraid I'm not able, because I'm on my company laptop. So this is another platform, Google Colab.
Okay.
So this is how it looks.
Yeah.
So here also you can do the same thing. This is a code block. This is a code block, seconds underscore in a day. And here, whatever you want to do, you can upload your data set to the Google Drive. You can consume your data from Google Drive here, and you can perform all kind of machine learning operations here on cloud directly. So what this takes away means, for HFSS is the software we use for antenna, right?
Wow.
Then MATLAB is the software which we use for image processing and all those things, or for antenna and all. So we have to first install the software on our machine, correct? So once we move to the Google Cloud, or once we move to the Kaggle, what advantage we are getting here is we do not need to install anything. Everything is on Kaggle and Google Colab, everything is on cloud, and they are the one who are taking care of everything. So even if I'm not having my laptop with me, even if I'm not having my desktop with me, and if I come to the college, I can open this thing and start working on any machine. So that kind of freedom we get.
Okay.
Hello, Kunjan.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
very good.
Kunjan, can we have this kind of facility in MATLAB? So suppose I have the
Yes.
in MATLAB I have done any algorithm, right? And
Yes.
I have some data set I have transmitted from the transmitter I received at the receiver side. I find out some BER or SCR, right? And
Okay.
based on that, I can do anything in this.
So what I will say here, you have started using MATLAB currently. So I will assume that your MATLAB, in MATLAB, you are accessing your data set by giving path of your file from your machine somewhere.
Yes.
What you need to do is you can go to MATLAB and you can go and do that, how to store MATLAB notebooks. So MATLAB equivalent to IPython notebook. You can do some research on this, sir. And what it will do, it will store your notebook in IPYNB file format. Yes, these are all notebooks, if you can see. IPYNB, emotion classification, CNE. So these are notebooks. So what this will do, whatever coding you have done there or whatever you have built there, it will store that thing in a file and you can download that thing. Now what you have to do, you can go here on Kaggle. Okay, you can go to notebook and here on new notebook, you can even upload that notebook. So what will happen, your MATLAB work will get directly transferred here on Kaggle and you will be able to use this platform from now onwards. And one thing that you need to do here is you have to upload your data set for the second time if you want to retrain your model. If it is already trained and you do not want your data set, then there is no need of doing that.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, I'm a fourth semester engineering student. My name is Ashish Trivedi. Sir, I have a question regarding algorithms. Sir, as algorithms are at the core of machine learning, did you learn algorithm design or data structures and algorithms?
No.
Well, that's a very good question, and that was a question that I have suffered a lot of time and in my past. So my answer to this is the more and more you know, better it is. So you should not feel that it is required to learn machine learning algorithm, because let me tell you one thing. If you are, which algorithms you have worked?
Sir, I have just started machine learning on Coursera, sir, and I'm referring to books of CLRS and Algorithms Unlocked, sir. I've just started it because our internship was like 15 days ago. And so people were already discussing on Quora and stuff that algorithms, we must know how to design algorithms, then we can move on to
let me answer you that question. Now we know that what is linear regression. So linear regression is let's go here. What is linear regression? This is a GIF file. So what we are trying to do here, that we are having all these data points, and from these data points we are trying to set this line which will give us most optimum output, or this line is the most optimum line that we have drawn that is passing through all these points. And how we are deciding that? We are using Euclidean distance. Euclidean distance, you know, right? That x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square and whole under square and root. So how to find the distance between 2 points? So based on the least value of that error, we decided that this line is the optimum line. Now it is important that you are having you should have knowledge when it is just like Pankti and Falguni Madam is working on. They are working on something which is not existing on market. So if you want to do sentiment classification or linear regression, what you will do? You will go to sklearn linear regression,
Yes.
and you will go here and you will do this. From sklearn, import linear model as LM, and you will start consuming it. LM.linear regression model will be fit on your data,
Yes.
and results are being achieved, and then you will print the result. But here, what happens? Based on the default parameters that sklearn library was providing, your model is being created. So to start your journey as a machine learning, you do not need to know what is happening inside an algorithm. But
Okay.
once you achieve your these results are called benchmark results. Okay, so just like we are having 35 marks are the necessary marks to pass an exam. So
Yes.
this is a benchmark. So
Yes.
these are the benchmark results. But after achieving these benchmark results, if you want to go to 90% accuracy, how will you go there? So for that, you will definitely need that algorithm is working in this way. And if I'll tweak this particular parameter, my
Yes.
my parameter or my machine learning accuracy will increase. And means, let me tell you one thing. In industry, whenever you enter into the industry, you do not get paid for what you are working. Okay, means right
Yes,
now
sir.
I am working from last 7 years, and Bihar Soni, who is my friend, that person is also working from last 7 years. So we do not get paid because of the work that we produce of 1 hour in 1 hour, but we get paid for our experience of 7 years, because we
Yes.
have invested 7 years. That's the reason we are able to achieve the task in one hour, right? The same
Yes,
way,
sir.
the more and more time you will invest in understanding the parameters of these algorithms, it will become very much easier for you to decide that if this is happening, then this is the thing that I need to pick.
Yes, sir.
If you go into the 212 room and if you don't know which switch you have to turn on the fan, what will you do? You will turn on
Yes.
every switch, right?
Yes.
But if someone from the housekeeping staff will go, that person is definitely aware that if I turn on this switch, that particular fan will turn on.
Yes.
That's what it is required to become an expert, that you should understand what's happening inside. Otherwise, there is no point. Everything is available on Google. Even a fifth or sixth standard student can copy paste this in a notebook and execute.
Yes, sir.
Correct. So do not directly indulge in the back-end mathematics and statistics of machine learning. Start learning
Yes,
this thing. What are the different things available, and pick one thing and go in that particular direction in depth. Suppose you are taking linear regression, spend 1 month on linear regression, how that thing is working, what are different parameters and all that. If you keep on changing your models or your algorithms every day, then you will not
Yes,
be able
sir.
to understand what is happening. Right?
Yes, sir.
So start with whatever you are having and go on gradually with that. That's what I will say. And yes, it is important to understand what's happening at the back end. Otherwise, there is
Yes,
no
sir.
point. Everything is available on Google for copy paste.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Kunjan, we have some question in chat box. Can you kindly just read the question? How make my career in
So that's what I explained here, friend, that you should start doing this. Okay. Certifications, books, projects, and hackathons. You are coming to college and you are attending lectures. But after attending lectures, you have to do some projects. Otherwise, you will never understand how amplifier is working or how 8955 means 8086 is working, or the microcontroller is working, until and unless you will apply your brain on that. Just reading Mazidi and Mazidi, you will not become microcontroller expert, right? So doing certifications and reading books will not let you become a machine learning engineer. You have to get your hands dirty and you have to do some projects. The more you will do projects, the more part you will take in hackathons, you will become more and more competent. Your area of knowledge will expand, and you will definitely get a good place in the machine learning community. And this is not only applicable to machine learning. This is a general rule in any academic field.
Yes.
You should know things, how actual things are working. Then and then only it is useful, right? So you can follow this. Start with certifications, read some books if it is interesting to you. If reading is of your interest, and then go for projects and hackathons.
Anyone? Question? Anyone would like to ask question? Dhara madam?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay.
No, right now, no.
I think there is no more question. So I would like to give the feedback orally.
1 second, ma'am.
Yeah, give some tips for interviews.
Who is admin? Okay. Interviews means there is a separate session which I have delivered for around 1 hour. So it will be very difficult to say in brief time.
We can arrange one more webinar for that.
Yeah, sure. I am having my content. Okay. So what you need to do for interviews? So let me give you brief what I discussed in that session, and if you want, I will arrange a session one more time. Number one thing is aptitude. So focus on aptitude. Focus on aptitude skills, and the book you should refer is R.S. Agarwal, because you will see my friend Vihar itself is suffered from this. Once you will not be able to clear the aptitude test in an interview, you will not be able to give an opportunity to sit in the interviews. So no matter how much technical knowledge you possess, if you are not able to clear aptitude test, it will be difficult. So the aptitude skill is first. Yes.
It's an entry ticket for interview for students.
Yes.
R.S. Agarwal.
Yes, and aptitude skills you should start doing from 3rd semester, summer vacation. Okay. Yes, my email and phone number is in the chat window. So whoever wants to note it down, please note it down. The technical skills are the second stage, because once you clear your aptitude, you will go into the technical interview round, and there you have to show your metal in technical stuff. So that's what you need to learn as the second part. Technical skills. If TCS, Infosys, such kind of software companies are coming, then they will ask you about network theory, then amplifiers, and basic things like that, and ICs. What is the IC which we use for 5 volts, sir? What is the number?
7805.
7805, yeah. So they will ask questions like this. Then if you will go for e-info chips, like core companies, then you will be interviewed on flip-flops. And so here what you have to do.
Kunjan, sorry to interrupt, but whatever you are writing, that screen is not shared. Can you share that screen? Actually, the PPT is at you.
My screen is already shared, ma'am, and I am writing on the chat window.
Chat window?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Info chips core company, then flip-flops will be asked, and the book we are having for is, which one the book, sir?
Hello.
And yes, the book name is Flip-flops, AND gates and OR gates and all gates.
Digital electronics.
Maurice Mano.
Maurice Mano.
Yes, Maurice Mano.
and Anand Kumar. Both of them.
Yes. So this is the thing that you have to do. That is for third semester. If you are in third semester, you should start doing aptitude related preparation, because once you will do this thing, you won't be able to. Once you will complete this thing in your third semester, you will be able to get time to focus on your technical skills. Because after third semester, fourth semester only the core electronics starts, right? So once you do that, you will move on technical skills. And in technical skills, if software is the company, then network theory, control system, amplifiers, ICs, these are the things which we need to be prepared. And if core companies you are targeting, then Morris Minnow, flip-flops, all these things you have to prepare. And the main important thing here is, are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so I got this. Okay. And the main important thing is soft skills, because if you know very good technical stuff, if you are very good in aptitude, but if you are not able to speak, then everything is useless. Okay? So please focus on these three things: technical, aptitude, and soft skills. This is the small advice I can give for the interview, and we can arrange another session for the interview if you want. What is the industry expectations and how our academic and industry expectations are clearly not matching, which is a reality, bitter truth, and we have to do a lot of work in that fashion. So, and that's why people like me, Vihar, Harshita, who is another batchmate of mine, we people are trying to engage with you juniors so that you can understand what is there in the industry and where you need to focus on when you are currently in college days. Okay.
So very good.
Falguni ma'am, if you don't mind, I can give the vote of thanks for Kunjan.
I would like to give first feedback, then you can give vote of
Okay.
thanks. Sir, Kunjan, you have explained very well about the machine learning, and the examples which you have given for machine learning is in EC is really motivating and inspiring the students, I guess. And I feel that they will start, those who have not started, they will start with machine learning. And it is a quite interesting topic. I am just like second sem students in the field of machine learning who don't know anything about it, but definitely I will try to acquire the knowledge, and I'll try to do some project in the field of antenna using machine learning. And one last instruction I would like to give all the participants, that please fill the feedback form. I have shared the link in the chat box also, and I have also emailed you, and please give the feedback. Feedback is very important to the speaker, so, and also for us, so please fill the feedback about the session. Thank you. You can now give vote of thanks.
One more time, Sagar sir, sorry to interrupt you.
Okay.
Kunjan, whenever you come at Gujarat, see, I'm not sure when we have the again commencement of all your duty, but when you come, you just try to connect any one of the faculty, so we can have such a webinar. So those students have shown their interest, and if they have any query, then they can solve through the webinars. Or because I know when you come to college premises, it's very difficult to catch you personally. So whenever you come at Gujarat at your place, then please you try to contact one of the faculty. So at your convenience, we'll organize such a webinar, so students can have the a very healthy discussions in this field.
Sure, ma'am. Fine.
And thank you so much. Yeah, we along with our students have learned a lot today, and you are relating the things with the practical exam very nicely. It's very easy to understand the concept, and this is a real way to start the journey. Thank you so much, Kunjan.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Over to you, Sagar, sir.
Yeah. So, yeah, Kunjan, it's a very informative session we have, and it's my privilege to give this vote of thanks for this webinar. I, Sagar Patel, on behalf of this Charuset and the entirely fraternity of institution, first of all, I extend my sincere thanks to the Mr. Kunjan Shah for